Hey, beautiful soul tribe. I am checking in. Simply checking in because I feel like it. And this just dawned upon me. And usually when my guide says press play, I know what it means. And there's so many things that I have learned in the past couple of years. And because I've suppressed so many, it's not that I forgot about them, but there's so much in the back burner because so many other new stuff came up, and I'm forgetting about how do I structure to tell you this and that and that and that, these things from my perspective. But it's Sunday evening and I'm just sitting down and I'm doing a chapter in a book that I've been working on for 2 years because it's expansive, and I just had the knowing press play. And this was imprinted upon me, something that I battled with quite a little bit. And I don't know why my guys want me to share it, but I'm going to share it anyway. So I'm going to be as open with this as possible. So before my NDE, I was just the regular individual who held on to everything like everyone else did. So I'm an African American girl, so I held on to the shadows of slavery and suffering and pain, and after school I had to unlearn what I learned in school, because as I started to travel I realized there were many stories that we were not taught in school about our ancestors. And I guess it would be the same thing for every culture that, I don't know, hopefully, or hopefully not, I don't know. So for the native Indians, I think they probably preserve their culture more. And I think for the Jewish community, maybe they preserve their culture more. But for our culture, there were many things that I really I was not aware of. And when I started to become aware of them, aware of the transit of how slavery started and why it started and the aspects of who it made the decision that we want to have slaves. And see, the history only went back to then. I didn't know about times and other earth times and the history that went beyond that, and I held on to those shadows. So I owned slavery and I owned the struggle, and I said we must struggle to make it. I really held on to that. And I remember, because I don't want to dig too deep into that because that is a sore thumb in a sense, and I don't want this to be negative at all. I want to show you how my perspective has changed, but not changed to be taken away from it, but changed to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Do you understand? And I think that's what they want me to do today, because of where the earth is stepping into from our own choices now. So holding on to that pain and those shadows, I call them shadows. I call anything that makes you heavy in the heart and angry and judgmental, I call any of these things pain, trauma, doubt, believing that you are limited, anything that causes you to believe that you must settle, you shouldn't be fully functional or whole, or you shouldn't give or nurture yourself. I call all of those shadows. For me, all of those are a different shadow, and if you pack on all of them, that means you're heavy with shadow. And you're so heavy with those shadows that most times starts from history, stories that were told, things that physically happened to you, or things that you witnessed. Do you understand? And some of them also are ingrained down through your DNA. So it's passed down through ancestry. Okay, so note that. So somebody who holds on to a lot of these structures, the way after my NDE, I remember having this dialogue. Because when you go back to pure love, for those of us who've had this conversation, remember you go back to where unconditionality is. So you don't understand the construct of pain, of wars, of you worse don't understand why anyone would enslave anyone. You don't understand why anyone would accept being a slave. You don't understand why anyone would want to hurt anyone else. You don't understand why human beings don't cohesively realize that we all must stick together like glue because we are one unit. That's the first thing. And I remember after that, I was very bitter, very hateful, very painful still right after my NDE. I don't think I've ever spoken about this publicly before, but they want me to, so okay, I will. And I was very angry because I kept saying, well, I know what pure love feels like because I was there and I felt it, and I'm seeing the probabilities of our choices and how this world can be better from our own choices. But then I said, man, go back a little further. What did daylights happen with slavery and with all these other cultures who had these mass arises of just one or few individuals who chose to, I am going to cause the complete annihilation of this culture, of this tribe. And I remember, I never forget when I just started to learn about the African slave trade. And I remember at one point I heard that just the transit, just from traveling to Africa to the Americas and the Caribbeans. And I remember I was reading a text one day. I was in England at the time, and I remember I read that almost 2 million slaves died in transit going to the Americas and to the Caribbean. And I don't think anything else in the story hit me like a ton of bricks like that, because I was like, okay, what I held on to was the pain and also the holding on to this weight of being lied to. Like, so the numbers aren't right. Oh my gosh, so it's not that amount of people, it's so much more. And I was very angry and livid about it. I remember I was very angry with my guys, and I was like, so why was that allowed? Why? They did not choose to. I don't see from the stories that they chose that. It was a case where their rights were taken away, their truth and their powers were taken away. So where were you? And I remember they went through, and I started to see just flashes and scenes of then. And I could realize that everything that you see and experience in this world, there's always something deeper happening. And that still wouldn't rest with me. And I remember Archangel Michael, and most of you don't like me talking about angels. This is just a source of consciousness, of knowledge for me. And I remember I was told within that moment to say, okay, pause for a moment and feel. And as soon as I said that, I started to see the imprints of pressing replay, not just from slavery, going way beyond to barbaric times. And they were showing me the patterns that kept replaying of people giving away their power, their truth, and understanding that, oh my gosh, because you're believing in one story, oh gosh, because they said this or they look this way, chances are they're better than me. So there's this hierarchy which really always causes an imbalance in this world. And they said to me, you have the opportunity to let go of these shadows, but not letting go of the story, not letting go of your ancestry, but making a choice now that will change the trajectory of this world. And I was still angry. I was like, damn it, that doesn't help them then who went through the suffering. And they said, no, quite the opposite. Said, making a choice right now to shed the shadows of knowing that I don't carry the shadows of slavery or that pain or that struggle anymore, because in my now moment I choose to acknowledge that I am not a slave, I am not enslaved, I am not a follower. I deserve to be on this planet like everyone else, and I deserve to look at everyone as a brother and a sister. And I choose now to start to have a different perspective on life through not my mind that has these imprints of these shadows of everyone else walking around me, but simply the imprint that my heart is willing to express to this world, to utter this change. And immediately yes, I started to see what people call predictions, but I call them probabilities. They said, you're stepping into terrible civil unrest. And I was like, it's always happened. They said, yes, but I mean, seriously terrible ripple effect or domino effect of civil unrest that starts in one country and just ripples and ripples and ripples. It's like pockets of cancer popping up all over in your universal body. Why? Because humanity still has not been able to make a decision on ethics and humanity. So we find excuses every day. I'm talking to people who make these decisions. I need to be revered. And you know, these people over here, I believe that they have something that I need, not them, maybe their land, maybe the resources, whatever it is. And this is a business deal that is going wrong because I can't control them. So what I'm going to do is imprint fear upon them and just take everything away. And if they don't choose to fold, I will enslave them in some way, enslave them into believing that I have to do this if I need to keep my job, I have to do this if I need to stay in my country, I have to do this if I need to stay in your country, I have to, all these crazy things. And the angel showed me, all you're really doing now is pressing replay on a button that you have read the history of, and there's so many more that you still don't understand what the history is about. But because of those imprinted memory, stories, history that you have carried down, you're choosing to continue the slave trade, in a sense, in your heart. And that's bloody hard to deal with. And I realized for a moment, it has to change. And the change that we are seeking in this world starts with us. It starts with our choices. It starts with us understanding, my gosh, the reason why I feel so bitter and so painful, and I did before my NDE, because I didn't know who to hate. But I know I hated somebody and many people, because I was reading about the millions of people who were taken away from their homes, from their families, for absolutely no ethical reason. And I was mad about it because they looked like me. But when the angel said to me, how do you help them now? And I thought to myself, I don't know. I just know it's wrong. And when people are talking about repatriation and they say, no, how do you help them now? You help them now by being the change that somebody then should have stood up and said, I will be the change. I will not accept this. I will stand in my truth and my power. They call it the quiet revolution, not because anybody's swinging swords and nobody's going out there doing these things that are atrocious. The quiet revolution is about understanding the ethics of humanity. That despite your color, your creed, your culture, wherever you come from, you do deserve. And here's the punch that I received. I had this imprint of this animation that I watched once, and I don't remember the name of it now, but if I find it, I'm going to tag it here when I post this. And I kept seeing this thing in my mind, and I was like, what's that? Why am I seeing that? But it's just a beautiful clip of these, I don't remember if they were grasshoppers or what. Some of them were bugs, and there was just ants everywhere. And somehow one ant was like a troublemaker or like a rebel. And every time I think about the ants now, they showed me in the aspect of one person standing up, similar to how Yeshua would have. And I don't know the other stories, but I think every culture have a story of an ascended master or somebody who stood up to something, yeah? And I remember the leader of that pack, whatever the bugs were, he was saying to them, oh, it was just one ant, and he outsmarted you. And one of them got up and he said, yes, can you imagine, just one ant. And he took one of the beans and he hit him and said, yeah, it's just one ant. Didn't pack a punch. And then he took another bean out and he threw another one of those bug thingy. And they said, yeah, it's one ant, stupid one ant. So you know what he did? And I'll never forget, because they showed me the clip. He just let go all of the beans and it just tore everything apart. And as a leader for them, he said, yes. But he said, here's a paradox of this. You're saying only one ant, but imagine if all these ants get to realize that if one ant stood up and packed a punch and outpowered you, how strong they would be if they all chose to come together. And the angel said to me, imagine if you all, as cells in this universal body, chose to stand up for the ethics of humanity. You'd realize that the darkness that you say is so powerful and revered and you can't get rid of it because you can't live without the financial system and the synthesized foods, and they were just showing me all these things that we think we can't do without. He said, imagine if all humanity who's holding this light, all you lighthouses right now, the angel says lighthouses, if you all chose simply to start together as universal cells, to work together and come out and say, I stand for the ethics of humanity, which means every single life matters, not just mine, not just my ancestry, not just my culture, not just my faith, not just humans. He says, do you know what a punch you would pack? Because the shadows are already losing, don't you see? We're giving as much support as we can. However, the last stand, the last punch comes from you. I don't know why they imprinted this in my mind, because I remember I was bawling that time. This happened maybe about 60 days after my NDE, because I was bitter for the first 6 months after my NDE. I was so bitter, and that's why on the 6-month mark of my NDE, I told them to take me out. I didn't want to be here anymore, because I could feel the pressure of us not making the right choices. And I remember when they showed me that, I was like, yeah, but how do I get humanity, people who are already carrying their own shadows of everything that happened to their families, their ancestry, carrying their own shadows of the pain that they have, the trauma they went through, because some of the human being chose to just drag them on this stage and just imprinted onto them hate and bitterness and just feeling useless and feeling as if they're a statistic and their voice doesn't matter. And especially the feminine energy on our entire planet that's been ostracized, which if you're female or if you're feminine or if you're too nurturing, you're weak. I mean, it's a whole dichotomy, is it? It's a whole aspect of everything that we have chosen to just sit and say, yeah, eyes wide shut. I won't speak about it, because the war that's happening is happening way away from me, and it's not my people anyway. I don't care about them, and it won't happen to me. However, there's a war going on next door. And the reason why there's a war going on next door is because you have a war going on in your mind. Because you really believe that the person next door, because they look different, you have this thought in your head to say, I can't stand them. You're not saying it aloud, but you're saying it in your mind, I can't stand them. Because they do this and they do that, and their culture is ridiculous, and I don't like this about them, and that and that and that. And what you do is you start to pack on more shadows onto yourself, and you're already burdened with your own from your own culture. So the angel said, do you see energetically what humanity do to themselves by thinking that they need to act as individual cells when they're all one unit and they all need to unite? It has to be a unified act of changing this planet. And I know to some people I'm speaking gibberish. I can laugh about it now, because I really feel so good not holding on to these shadows anymore. I'll be honest with you, because it's very heavy to dig into history and realize how one human being chose to deal with another. But what's more hurtful is to see that we press replay every couple of years and then we accept it, and some people talk about it, but the ones who do talk about it and the ones that come out to try to shed light on it, people ostracize them and they demonize them and they try to find something to do. And I think to myself, whoa, you've been doing this for centuries and other earths, because the ascended masters that come and even the savior that come, you chose, the people still chose to burn them at the stake and hang them and get rid of them because, oh no, you're a rebel. And the only reason why that happens is because you choose to settle. You choose because you know what, it's comfortable, because at least I have food to eat, and at least when I get sick I can get the synthesized food to take care of myself and suffer more until I die. At least I can pressure my children and say, you have to do this by this age, that age, that age, that age, or else. And these are the only, careers that really make sense to you. So these are the things you can do, and do not even think about being creative, because creativity does not pay. And we've just lost the ethics of free will in humanity. We've lost the ethics of just understanding why we're here. If we are here to expand and learn and grow and live, damn it, just live. Who took the code out of living? I mean, who wrote this manual? You're so dumb, the person who wrote this bloody manual, to say this is how you live. You sleep, you do, you die, you sleep, you do, die. I mean, what about the expansion of this world? What about, do you know how much fun it will be, because we're stepping into that whether you like it or not? How much fun it will be for our children and the children's children, who will live in a world where there's no aspect of hate or pain, or where they have a choice. Actually, they have a choice of not experiencing this from their perspective. Because I do have a feeling that people still will choose to be safe and stay with being a follower instead of leading in your own right and your own ethical human right. And that's okay for those who choose to do it. But I know for sure that we're going like this, and we're splitting. We're splitting consciously, where some people are saying, absolutely not. I am not choosing to be in this state anymore. I'm not choosing to live this way anymore. I'm not choosing to eat like this anymore. I'm not choosing to think like this anymore, because this is where the power is, because your mind controls your body and how you react to things and the imprint that you leave when you act towards things. And if we're not conscious about this when we speak and how we think, to feel the ripple effect from our choices, I can tell you now that we will be hitting a rock bottom pretty soon for this choice to be made. But it will not continue like this, where we just have business transactions that went bad and somebody makes a choice to start a war because they didn't get what you wanted. Where you simply just have things arising because you're not making enough money in a particular sector, and you start something that will put people into a panic state for you to make money, and it's not a level playing field. Where there are people, so many people out there homeless, but there's so many people still who have so much more, and people turn a blind eye, where there's just no safety walking in your own skin. What are people going to start doing? Walking without clothes to identify if I am this faith or that faith or this person or that person? Because there are people who are one particular culture, and there's some countries they can't go to now because they're pointed on. You know what I mean? And if we don't learn to let go of these shadows, despite who started it, somebody has to stop it, though. Somebody has to change how we think. And I know it's a treacherous journey to let go of these shadows. However, when you start to peel away the onions and let go of the fear, first of all, and the pain and the trauma and the hate and the bitterness and the indecisiveness, oh my gosh, what do I do? Am I going to abandon this or that? Just look in the mirror for once and look at yourself and say, you know what, I'm human, I'm deserving, and they're deserving too. And breathe and feel the breath of life flow through you and understand, oh my gosh, if I deserve to live, I will not press replay, not this time around, for any more slavery or atrocities to start. Because can I tell you something? Things will be unfolding in the next couple of years that will disgust you to the stomach. Of people that you so much believed in, people that you still revere now, that you will cut an ear off because of them, that you will hurt somebody else because of their ideologies and the things that they say, because they say all the right things, but you have forgotten how to feel when somebody speaks and a message happens and something comes up on the news or something is coming and you forgot how to feel. Wait, if this happened then, what is it distracting me from seeing or feeling or identifying? And when these things come to play, you will be disgusted to your stomachs and wonder, oh my gosh, what kind of world do I live in? And for those of us who, I don't even know if it's a gift. For those of us who foresee and who know, I do pray for a better world. And you know something that I love? I remember one aspect of one of the times that when somebody hurts you, you want to know that they're hurt again. That's the human egoic mind, because that's how I used to feel too. And I remember one of the times, my grandmother, she said to me, and I know it's weird, my grandmother has passed away, but she's also one of my guides, and she said to me, but remember every soul in their path. These leaders that you still hold so much energy of hate for, they have already reincarnated. They have already went through spiritual rehab. The ones that chose to come to the light, because some of them are still out here just festering more darkness. But for the ones who did choose to come to the light and went through this treacherous journey, do you know how many lifetimes they've already gone through trying to redo their karma? And some of them now, I remember my grandmother, some of them right now are being ostracized just to try to pay back that debt. And I was like, yes. However, I had to calm down really quickly to say, yes, but it's just a cycle of life. Nothing goes undone, unpaid for. which means it's really time for us to let go of some things and understand that the choice we make now really is for the future, right now. And I think that's important. Because if you should ever live long enough, not to just hear the stories, but see and witness that there are children that are bred into this world right now, and you say you love children, everybody does, that never get to see the light of day. Because they are born and bred just to be ostracized, just to be used for rituals, you would stop talking about many things of faith. Because that word has been used to do many things that are not humane. And just by saying that, I want you to understand that this world isn't exactly the way you see it on the outside. You can paint your house on the outside as beautiful as it is, but it could be a little house of horrors, you know. So feel and be the change. I want you to Google or draw yourself a sketch of a body right now, and just imagine this body represents the entire universe, not even Earth. I'm going beyond Earth. You see this body that I'm drawing? We do have support from the hairs outside our skin. The hairs are very important. Consider the ears, all the other planets and aspects and support system on the outside. That shields us, okay? Fine. But everything else within this body that you're going to draw, every cell, down to the very pathogens, represents one of us. And the reason why we have a dysfunction into this world right now is because our universal body, which contains every single human being, no matter your color, your culture, your creed, your belief, your faith, how you talk, your language, once you are breathing, you are a cell in this universal body that you will be drawing on this paper. Let me show you. Not in the mood to draw right now, but let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm sorry, I didn't do it so right. Anyway. Fingers. This is a universal body. This represents the whole universe. Everything on the outside, every hair that stands up on this universal body is everything ethereal. All the help from the angels, the Yeshua, all the ascended masters, God, universe, love, all the extraterrestrials that many of you aren't ready to talk about, but yes, they do exist. All the support system, all the stars, all the moon, everything is on the outside. Now, every single cell within this body, and I'll just do dots. If you should Google right now the aspect of the body, and I want you to study the human anatomy, nothing is more special on this body than the other. The brain's not special from the heart, and the heart's not special than the lungs or the kidney or the spleen, and especially the fingers and the toes and all of that. Each one of us as human beings represents a cell, and many of you also represents down to the pathogens within this body. Now, if you want to consider each part of this body as another part of Earth, that's fine. We can say America is the heart, and another country is this cerebellum and whatever different part of the brain. I don't care which part of this body you want to claim for your country or wherever you are, but you represent a part of this body. If you choose to turn a blind eye to what's happening in this world, what happens is, while you are attacked, while you are having these thoughts and picking up on these shadows, every time you pick up a shadow of hate and pain and blame and judgment because of whatever reason, religion, culture, society, what the politics says, I don't care. What it does is it causes a dysfunction in this universal body, okay? It causes a virus to start to spread. And what does the body do? What does Gaia do? It festers. You get lymph nodes all over the place. So let's say maybe this is Ukraine. It festered a lymph node. It started to fester something because there's something happening. There is no balance and nobody's giving support. And then it starts a war. Okay? This is probably another country who's orchestrating the war. But always see, there's always a cell all over the place that pops up that's also giving support. It's sending veins and festering this war. Now, all of us as cells within this body, we have a part to play. We all are supposed to come together to try to get rid of this virus, this festering, this cancer. Because when the body gives you pockets of cancers or lymph nodes or lumps or whatever it is that comes up on your body, it's telling you, listen, girl, I've done everything I can. There is a virus. There is something here that I can't fix on my own. You need external help, or you need to come together. You need to start to eat something. You need to start to contain something. You need to start to have conversations so you can help me to get rid of this cancer. What's happening in this world now, I'm trying to break it down to you the way the angel showed it to me. What happens is when we choose to turn a blind eye to what's happening in this world, we are going to find ourselves with pockets of cancers popping up all over in this world, which is already happening now, in some countries where nobody pays attention, you know. So let's say, for instance, Africa is probably under the belly button somewhere here. So many atrocities happening in Africa right now. Do you hear it on the news? No. How many people are hungry and they're dying, and how many wars and how many they have? Nope. This does not make the news. Why? Because it's probably under cleavage here somewhere. It's still a part of the body. There are many stories that are happening all over the world. Maybe they're down here between the thighs, and you know, nobody pays much attention until you see in a mirror, oh my gosh, I have probably a fungus growing there, and that's what's happening down there. Do you understand? Nobody pays attention. They turn a blind eye. It's not my country. Yeah. They give up their right. But what can you do about it from where you are? What you do about it is from where you are is be the change that you want in the world. Nobody's asking you to fly to these countries. Nobody's asking the brain to go down here, but the brain can do something when it starts to send a message to say, listen, cells, we have to now cohesively work together to get rid of these pockets of cancers, of cells, of fungus, whatever it is that's affecting this world. And for those of you who are, let's say, within the pathogens, go on your knees and pray. Meditate if you want to. All the energy healers, go together and start. Just draw one circle if you have to, and sit on your behudi, and 2, 3, 100,000 get together and start to send energy healing into these aspects of this world. You are energy, so send the energy out there. Go down into pockets, and I don't care what denomination you are, since you want to hold on to faith, and come together. Don't say this faith is wrong and that is right. Oh my gosh, get over it. Let's break down the walls of these mansions and come together and pray and send the healing and send the light and allow the light to win for once. Because it can be done. Nobody's asking you to take a flight to Russia, to all these countries. Nobody's asking you to take a flight to Africa. But they're asking you to be a part of the change. And it starts with you. By seeing the next African that's in your town and sending them love and healing. By actually talking about it with compassion and love, not with judgment, with compassion and with love. By simply wanting the world to be better. It sounds ridiculous. Oh, I'm going through my own struggles. I don't have no time for that. Well, what about when your pockets of cancer start to pop up in your own household and in your own district and in your own building, when somebody just hates you because of the color shirt you wore? Who's going to stand up for you then? We have to understand that we are the change that we want to see in this world. I went a little bit off topic, and there's something else that they wanted me to say, and I'm not going to say it now because not everybody's ready for all of this information. But I wanted for once, because I speak, I wanted for once to articulate my perspective of how I see this world. Because a couple of people said to me, how do you say that the world is like a body? It is. The way it's shown to me, everything that is made up in your body mirrors the external world. So all your faculties here mirrors the external world. And if you should stop for a second and think about it, you'll understand that most things that happen outside is mirroring what's happening inside you. So if the world is in chaos, so are you. So it's time to choose. I am ready to be peaceful. I'm ready to be at peace. And in order to be at peace, it means my mind cannot be at war with anyone for any reason. I'm letting it go because I don't care about any conversation, having any dialogue, being in any crowd, unless it's about something compassionate and of love. And I am not going into any box with anybody to close any doors so I can't look through the window to see the abundance that God's given to this world. That we walk around with eyes wide shut because I'm the only one that deserves to get this because I have this color and you don't belong. Can you imagine when those of us who probably know and probably remember tell you about how your colors came about and how you came to be the color you are instead of the histories that man told? Yep, it will shock you. Please understand that we're one universal cell, and until we start to get together from where we are, let us choose to see this world as love. And see the person who's sitting there under the street, under the light, the person who's stretching their hands out begging is also an aspect of you, despite how they look, smell, seem, speak, despite how many times they pray per day. At least you're adding light somewhere. So while you see them adding light, add some light too, will you? By just being kind. It's worth it. Before all this civil craziness starts to happen around our world because people are feeling so depleted and so angry and so fearful. Because the next thing that will come is just people trying to organize for you to be fearful of death. And you're not even ready to be fearful of death yet because you're not even living. Let alone to hear them bring something else up again to say, oh my gosh, you might die. There's another pandemic. There's another this. There's another that. Are you going to really wait until you hit rock bottom completely before you just decide, I choose to be the change in this world? It's worth it. Anyway, that was my 2 cents from my perspective, and I love you.